The city never slept. Neon lights burned bright against the dark sky. Crowds of aliens moved fast through the streets. Their voices filled the air with noise. Traders shouted, machines roared, and strange smells of food drifted from stalls. But in the middle of all this life, one figure moved slowly. She was thin, her skin pale blue and cracked from cold. Her clothes hung in torn pieces. Her eyes looked empty but still searching. The alien woman pressed her back against the wall, her stomach twisting with hunger. She had not eaten in days. She had begged from merchants, from passers-by, but no one gave her anything. To them, she was just a beggar, just another forgotten life in a city that cared for nothing but profit. Her legs shook as she walked. She looked at a stall where roasted meat turned over a fire. The smell made her mouth water, but the vendor waved her away with anger. Calling her worthless, she stumbled, nearly falling, and her eyes caught something on the ground. A bowl, dirty, half filled with scraps. A dog growled near it, guarding what little food it had. The woman froze. Shame burned inside her, but hunger was stronger. Slowly, she knelt down. Her trembling hand reached toward the bowl. The dog snarled, but she pushed forward. Around her, people stopped to watch. Some laughed, others whispered. A few looked away in disgust. No one stepped in to help. The alien woman lowered her head, her lips touching the edge of the bowl. Her pride broke like glass. She ate. And in that moment, from across the street, someone noticed her. A human. He stood tall, wearing a dark coat marked with dust from travel. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He had come to this alien world only for trade, for business. Yet now he saw something that made him stop. He saw a woman starving, reduced to fighting with a dog for scraps. The human did not laugh like the others. He did not turn away. Instead, his jaw tightened, his hands clenched at his sides. There was something in his chest, a weight, an ache that would not let him move on. The crowd began to move again, losing interest, but the human stayed. His eyes followed the woman as she pulled back from the bowl, wiping her mouth with shaking fingers. She looked weaker now, like her body was giving up. He felt something inside him whisper, "Do nothing. She is not your kind. This is not your fight." But louder than that was another voice. "She is alive. She is hungry. She is like you." The woman pressed herself against the wall again, her hands gripping her stomach. Her head fell forward, and for a moment he thought she would collapse. The human took a step forward, then another. His boots echoed on the hard street. People glanced at him, confused. A few whispered, "What is the human doing?" He reached a food stall. The vendor sneered, "You again? You don't want food from here, not for her kind." The human's voice was low but firm. "Give me 2 bowls, the best you have." The vendor blinked, surprised, but the credits in the human's hand made him silent. Soon, steam rose from bowls of thick stew and bread. The human carried them carefully. He walked toward the wall where the woman sat. Her eyes lifted, dull at first, then wide with shock as she saw him. A human, standing before her, holding warm food. The crowd slowed again, watching. A hush fell, suspense filled the air. Would he throw the food at her feet in mockery, as others sometimes did? Would he scold her, shame her, laugh like the rest? The human kneeled, placing the bowl close to her hands. His eyes met hers, steady and without judgment. "Eat," he said, his voice calm. The woman stared at him, her lips parting. Her throat worked as if she wanted to speak, but no words came. Her hands shook, not daring to touch the gift. The dog growled nearby, hungry for what it had lost. The crowd whispered louder, waiting for something to happen. And the human only stayed there, steady, unmoving, waiting for her to choose. The night pressed heavy around them. The lights burned, the smells of food drifted, and in that one small corner of the city, a choice was about to change everything. The woman's thin fingers hovered above the steaming bowl. Her eyes darted between the food and the strange human face. For a long moment, she did not move. Hunger pulled her forward, but fear held her back. She had seen humans before. They were strong, powerful, and dangerous. Some came as soldiers, some as merchants, but none had ever looked at her with kindness. Most aliens feared humans, some hated them, others admired them from a distance. But this one kneeled before her like an equal. The smell of the stew filled her senses, the rich broth, the soft bread. Her mouth watered, Her stomach twisted so hard she gasped. The crowd leaned closer, curious. A few pointed fingers and laughed. Others shook their heads, muttering that the human was wasting his food. The human stayed quiet. His eyes never left hers. He did not push the bowl into her hands. He only waited, calm, steady, patient. Her pride screamed inside her. She was once a scholar, a woman of knowledge and words. She used to speak in the great halls. Now she sat in rags, kneeling on dirty stone, ready to eat like a stray animal. The shame cut deeper than hunger. But the hunger was too strong. With trembling hands, she lifted the bowl. The heat burned her palms, but she did not let go. She brought it close to her lips. Her teeth sank into the soft bread. The taste broke something inside her. Warmth filled her throat. She closed her eyes, tears rolling down her cracked skin. The crowd murmured. Some laughed harder. "Look at her, begging like a beast." Others whispered, "The human is mad. Why waste food on her?" A few, silent and hidden in the back, felt a sting of guilt, but none dared show it. The human took the second bowl. He sat on the ground beside her, leaning against the same wall. He began to eat slowly, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The woman stopped chewing for a moment. Shock filled her again. He was not feeding her like one feeds a pet. He was sharing a meal. She looked at him, her eyes wet, her lips opened. A broken voice escaped. "Why?" The human glanced at her. His voice was quiet. "Because no one should starve." Simple words. Yet they struck her like thunder. No one had spoken such words to her in a long time. She ate again, faster this time, the stew spilling down her chin, her hands clumsy with weakness. The human passed her a small cloth without a word. She froze at the gesture, then slowly took it. For a brief moment, the noise of the city faded. The crowd around them became nothing. It was only her and the human, eating in silence, two souls from different worlds. But peace never lasted in this city. From the far side of the street, two armored guards noticed the scene. Their helmets glinted in the light. They carried stun weapons at their sides. They pushed through the crowd, their voices harsh. "What is happening here?" The onlookers stepped back, eager to avoid trouble. Fingers pointed at the human and the beggar woman. "He feeds her. He sits with her," one alien hissed. The guards stopped in front of them, their eyes cold behind their visors. One of them spat near the woman's feet. "Get up, filth," he growled. "Begging is forbidden here. You spread disease. You shame the city." The woman froze, her hands clutching the bowl tight. Her body shook with fear. She whispered, "Please, no." The guard raised his hand as if to strike her, but before it could fall, the human stood. He placed himself between her and the guards, his shoulders broad, his stance firm. The steam from his half-finished meal still rose in the air. His voice was calm, but carried steel. "She eats, that is all." The guards laughed. "A human protecting trash?" One sneered. "You waste your strength on dirt. Step aside. Outworlder. She is nothing." The woman's heart pounded. She wanted to cry out, to beg the human to leave her. He did not know the city's cruelty. He did not know the price of kindness here. Helping her could bring him danger. But the human did not move. His eyes burned as he stared at the guards. The crowd grew tense. Whispers spread fast. Some waited for violence. Some hoped for it. Others wondered if they were watching the start of something they would never forget. The woman clutched her bowl. The stew grew cold in her hands. Her breath came fast. She felt caught between fear and a strange, rising hope. The guards stepped closer, their weapons humming with power. The human's fists clenched, his shadow stretched long against the wall. In that moment, the street became silent. Everyone waited, everyone watched. One act of kindness had turned into a battle line, and the night was about to decide if mercy could survive in a city built on cruelty. The street held its breath. The guards stood tall with their glowing stun weapons. The alien woman cowered low, clutching her bowl like it was the last piece of life she had. The human stood in front of her, his body forming a shield. One guard sneered, "Move aside. Human, you don't know what you protect." His voice echoed with arrogance. The other guard raised his weapon higher, sparks dancing on the tip. The threat was clear. But the human did not move. His jaw tightened. His eyes were steady. His hand rested near his belt, but he made no weapon ready. Instead, he spoke in a calm voice. "She is hungry. I gave her food. That is all. The guards laughed harshly. The crowd murmured. Some aliens shook their heads, muttering that this human was foolish. Others felt a strange warmth stir inside them, something they had not felt in years: shame. The woman's chest rose and fell fast. Fear pressed heavy on her bones. She whispered softly, almost too low to hear, "Please leave. They will hurt you." Her voice cracked. But the human heard. He looked back at her. Their eyes met for the first time. Her eyes were hollow, but behind them flickered the faint spark of dignity that had almost died. His gaze softened. It was not pity. It was recognition. He saw her, not as dirt, not as trash, but as someone alive, someone worth protecting. For the first time in many years, the woman felt seen. The guards stepped closer. One pushed the human's shoulder. "You do not belong here. Outworlder, do not test our patience." The human did not flinch. He only shifted his stance, calm but unyielding. The crowd grew thicker. Aliens pressed closer to watch. Some children peeked between adults, wide-eyed at the sight of a human defying city guards. A merchant whispered, "He risks his life for her?" Another muttered, "Humans are mad." Tension crackled like fire. The woman's heart pounded harder. She thought of running, of slipping away, leaving the human safe, but her legs would not move, and some part of her could not turn away from the only person who had shown her kindness. At last, the guards lowered their weapons slightly. Their leader spat again. "Keep her, if you wish, but she will bring you nothing but misery. She is less than nothing." Their words dripped with hate. The human did not answer them. He turned back to the woman, his hand extended. "Come," he said softly. The word broke through her fear. She stared at his open hand. Her own hands trembled. She had not touched another with trust in years. Slowly, carefully, she placed her cold fingers into his warm grip. The crowd gasped. For them, this was unthinkable. A human, holding the hand of a starving alien beggar, leading her through the street as if she mattered. The guards muttered curses but stepped aside. They would not strike openly against a human traveler. The city still feared the power humans carried. Together, they moved through the crowd. The woman limped beside him, her legs weak but her spirit burning with a strange new flame. The human walked steady, ignoring every stare, every whisper. His grip was firm, reassuring. When they reached a quieter street, the noise of the market fading behind them, the woman finally spoke again. Her voice was fragile. "Why? Why risk yourself? You do not even know me." The human stopped. He looked at her with the same steady eyes. "I don't need to know you deserve food. No one should be left like that." Her throat closed. Tears welled again. She turned her face away, ashamed of her weakness. But in her chest, something heavy shifted. She had lived so long in silence, in hunger, in shame, that she had forgotten what kindness felt like. They sat near an abandoned fountain. The human gave her the last of the bread from his bowl. She ate slowly this time, not rushing. He watched her, not with judgment, but with patience. For a moment, the city seemed far away. There was only the quiet sound of chewing, the warmth of shared food, the strange peace between two souls from different worlds. The woman raised her eyes again. Meeting his gaze, she whispered, "My name is Lyra." Her voice trembled but carried a spark of pride. She had not spoken her name aloud in years. The human nodded once. "I am Daniel." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Not romance, not yet, but a bond forming from hunger, kindness, and defiance against cruelty. The night sky stretched above them. The city lights glowed cold, but in the shadow of the fountain, a new story had begun. A human and an alien woman had shared a meal, and with it, they had shared something greater: hope. And the city, cruel and uncaring, would soon learn that hope was dangerous. The fountain's cracked stone dripped with stale water. The night air grew colder. Yet Lyra felt a warmth she had not known for years. It came not from the food, not from the bread in her hands, but from the human who had sat beside her without fear. Daniel leaned back against the fountain wall, his eyes lifted to the alien stars above. He said nothing, but his silence was not heavy. It was steady, like a shield that gave her space to breathe. For a while they simply sat, two strangers bound by hunger and choice. At last, Lyra spoke. her voice low. You do not know what they call me. She paused, swallowing hard. They call me filth. They say I am nothing, less than the dogs on the street. Her words shook. She expected him to turn away, to nod without care. But Daniel's eyes shifted to her, steady as before. I know what they called you, he said. But I asked what you call yourself. Her lips parted. She blinked fast. The question felt strange, forgotten. She whispered, Lyra. My name is Lyra. She had said it once already, but speaking it again felt like pulling it back from the ashes. Daniel nodded. Lyra, he repeated, simple, respectful, as though he was setting her name back into the world. Her chest trembled. Memories rose. She had not wanted to remember, but his voice pulled them loose. She lowered her eyes. I was not always this, she whispered. Once. I was a teacher. I spoke in the halls of the academy. I taught young ones history and stars. My family was proud. Her voice cracked, until the war came. Daniel stayed quiet. He let her words flow. They came for our city first, Lyra continued, her eyes distant. Bombs fell. Fire spread. My mate was taken to fight. He never returned. My child, my little one. Her voice broke. She pressed her hands to her face, shoulders shaking. The fire took her, and I was left with nothing. No home, no family, no voice. Silence pressed around them. The empty fountain echoed her grief. Daniel's jaw tightened. He did not speak easy comforts. He did not say empty words. Instead, he let her sorrow breathe. His eyes carried quiet rage, not at her, but at a universe that could crush lives so easily. Lyra wiped her tears with the ragged edge of her sleeve. Shame burned in her. And now I beg for scraps. I eat from bowls meant for beasts. I have fallen so far. Daniel leaned forward, his voice steady. You survived. She looked at him sharply, startled. What? You survived, he repeated. Through war, through loss, through hunger. You're still here. That is not weakness. That is strength. Her breath caught. She stared at him. No one had spoken such words to her. Not in years. Maybe not ever. Her people avoided her, called her cursed. The guards treated her as dirt. But here sat a human, a stranger, who saw not shame, but strength. Her fingers clutched the bowl tighter. Her eyes burned. She whispered, Why do you care? You are not of my kind. Daniel's gaze turned back to the stars. Because hunger has no kind, pain has no kind, and neither does kindness. The words settled between them, heavy and bright. For the first time in years, Lyra felt her chest rise not with despair, but with a fragile spark of pride. She was not healed, not saved, but she was not invisible anymore. But peace was never safe in this city. From the shadows, a figure moved. A merchant who had watched earlier stepped close. His face twisted with anger. You should not fill her head with lies, human, he hissed. She is a beggar, a shame to this street. If you give her hope, she will only bring trouble. Daniel's eyes narrowed. His hand moved instinctively near his belt. She deserves to live, he said, voice low. The merchant spat on the ground. Then she will drag you down with her. He turned and stalked away. His words spilled into the night like poison. And in this city, poison spread fast. Lyra's heart clenched. Fear returned. She whispered, They will not let this rest. The guards, the merchants. They see kindness as rebellion. Daniel looked at her, his face calm. Then let them see. Her breath caught. His words were simple, but they carried fire. The night deepened around them. The city lights glared, but inside her chest, where ashes had long smothered every flame, a spark burned again. For the first time since the war, Lyra believed her story was not over, and Daniel, the human who had shared a meal, had reminded her of something she thought forever lost. Her name, her strength, her worth. But the city's shadows were listening, and kindness in a cruel place always drew enemies. The night in the alien city never truly darkened. Neon lights glowed above every street, casting long shadows. Yet for Daniel and Lyra, the air grew heavier with each passing hour. Her confession had settled deep in his mind. Her story was not just hunger. It was war, loss, survival. But now danger crept closer. The merchant's words had spread like smoke, and smoke always found fire. As Daniel walked beside Lyra, he noticed how the streets had grown quieter. Fewer traders called out. More doors closed at their approach. He saw the way eyes lingered on him. On the alien woman walking under his protection, whispers followed, sharp as knives. They will call the patrol again, Lyra whispered. Her voice shook. They hate when someone breaks their order. They will not forgive you. Daniel's gaze stayed forward. Let them come. His calm voice unsettled her. He did not understand. This city belonged to cruelty. It fed on weakness. Those who gave mercy were marked as fools, and fools rarely survived. They turned a corner and found their path blocked. 2 guards stood waiting, their armor brighter, newer than before. Their weapons hummed louder, more dangerous. They had not come to chase away a beggar. They had come for a lesson. The taller guard smirked. Outworlder, he called. You caused trouble. You defend trash. Now you will answer. Lyra's heart dropped. She pulled Daniel's sleeve, whispering fast. Please, don't resist. They will kill you. Her voice cracked. I am not worth this. Daniel looked at her, steady. Yes, you are. The guards stepped forward. The crowd gathered again, hungrier for violence than food. The people of the city loved a spectacle, especially when cruelty danced on stage. One guard shoved Lyra aside. She fell against the wall, clutching her chest. Daniel's fists tightened. His stance widened. But still, he did not reach for a weapon. His eyes burned cold. You think to shame us? The guard sneered. You feed her, you sit with her, now you bleed with her. He lifted his stun baton high, crackling with blue sparks. The strike came fast, but Daniel moved faster. He stepped aside, the weapon slamming into stone. Sparks burst. The crowd gasped. The second guard lunged, but Daniel caught his wrist, twisting hard. The baton dropped, clattering on the ground. The crowd roared, some in shock, some in delight. For years they had watched the guards beat the weak. Now for the first time, the weak were not helpless. A human had stood against the city's law. Lyra's eyes widened. Fear and hope battled inside her. She had seen men resist before, and all had fallen. But Daniel did not falter. His movements were precise, controlled. He did not strike to kill, but to defend. The guards scrambled, humiliated before their own people. One spat. This isn't over. Outworlder, you've made yourself an enemy of the city. They retreated, dragging their pride behind them. Their threat hung in the air like smoke before a storm. The crowd murmured louder. Some cursed Daniel, saying he would bring ruin. Others whispered his name. Human, protector, rebel. Lyra pushed herself off the wall, trembling. She rushed to him, her voice urgent. You should not have done this. They will hunt you. They will hunt us both. Daniel looked at her, calm as ever. Then let them hunt. We stand. Her throat tightened. His strength felt unreal. But it was not arrogance. It was conviction. His words carried the weight of someone who had chosen, and chosen fully. They walked again, but now every alley felt hostile. Every shadow hid eyes. The city itself seemed to turn against them. Lyra's fear deepened, but so did something else, a fragile fire in her chest. She had not seen anyone stand for her in years, and now, a stranger did it without hesitation. They reached the edge of the market, where broken lamps flickered over crumbling walls. Lyra sat down, her legs too weak to carry her further. She pressed her hands into her face. Why, Daniel? Why risk everything? You could have left me there. You could have walked away. He crouched in front of her. His voice was steady. Because leaving you would mean leaving myself. Her eyes snapped up, confused. I don't understand. You survive, he said. You endure even when everything is taken. That is strength. And if I turn away from that, then I turn away from what makes me human. The words cut deep, not with pain, but with something she had forgotten. Belief. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She whispered, they will come again, stronger. They will not let this go. Daniel nodded. Then let them. We will face it. Her lips trembled. We? His eyes held hers, steady, unyielding. We. The night wind blew through the broken streets, carrying the whispers of a city that would not forget this defiance. Lyra felt fear still, but now it was not alone. Alongside it burned a fragile hope, a belief that perhaps her life was not yet over, perhaps her story had just. The city's nights stretched long, but sleep never came. For Daniel and Lyra, every step deeper into the alleys felt heavier. The shadows pressed close, and the air carried whispers of pursuit. Daniel's hand rested on the strap of his coat. Ready, Lyra walked close behind him, her eyes darting at every sound. They will not forget, she whispered. Guards here. They do not forgive shame. They will come back stronger. You should leave while you can. Daniel shook his head. His voice was calm. I don't leave people behind. The words struck her like a blow. She had heard many promises in her life, from soldiers, from leaders, from family. All had broken. But this human spoke like steel, simple and final. They reached an old courtyard, broken stone under their feet. The walls around them were scarred with old burns. The place smelled of rust and damp. Daniel paused, scanning. His instincts screamed danger. From the far side, boots struck stone. Figures appeared. 5 guards this time, armored, weapons glowing. Their leader from earlier walked among them, his pride burning hotter than his weapon. His voice carried venom. Outworlder, you humiliated us in front of our city. Tonight, we end this. The crowd gathered again, silent shadows at the edges. Hungry eyes waited to see blood. They loved to fight, even if they feared the outcome. Lyra's chest tightened. She pulled Daniel's arm, her voice breaking. Please, you cannot fight them all. They will kill you. They will kill me. Daniel's jaw set. He stepped forward, his voice steady. If they try, then they will learn what it means to fight a human. The guards laughed cruelly. One spat. You think yourself more than flesh. You will break like the rest. The leader raised his baton, blue sparks crackling. Seize him. They charged, weapons hummed. The air lit with sparks. Daniel moved like stone turned to lightning. His arm blocked the first strike. His boot slammed into the ground, sending one guard crashing back. He caught another's wrist and twisted until bone cracked. The weapon fell. The crowd gasped, murmurs spreading like fire. They had never seen a human fight this way. Calm, precise, unstoppable. But there were too many. 3 more circled him, striking fast. His coat burned where sparks grazed him. Pain surged. But he did not fall. His fists answered with steel. One guard staggered. Another fell to his knees. The last swung wide. But Daniel stepped in close, driving his elbow hard. The sound echoed like breaking stone. Lyra watched, her heart torn. Fear and awe fought inside her. Daniel was strong, stronger than she had believed. But he was only one, and numbers always won in this city. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body froze. The leader stepped forward, fury in his eyes. He aimed his weapon not at Daniel, but at her. Sparks screamed as the baton lit. He snarled, if he wants to protect you, then let him watch you die. Lyra froze. Her bowl of stew slipped from her trembling hands, shattering on stone. But before the weapon fell, Daniel's voice roared. No. He surged forward, faster than the crowd could blink. His body slammed into the leader. They both crashed to the ground. Sparks lit the courtyard like stormfire. The crowd erupted, shouts, gasps, the sound of something shifting. Some cheered the human, others cursed. The city had never seen this. One man standing against its iron rule. Daniel rose first. His boot pressed the leader's chest. His fist gripped the weapon torn from his hand. His voice thundered. She is not your slave, not your filth, not your prey. She is alive, and I will not let you take that from her. The words rang through the courtyard, echoing against stone. For a heartbeat, silence ruled. The crowd stared. The guards hesitated. Their leader groaned under Daniel's boot, humiliated, defeated. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Her body shook. She had never heard such words spoken for her, not since before the war, not since her family was alive. One by one, the guards pulled back, fear in their eyes. The leader hissed, "This is not finished. Human, you have made an enemy of the city." They retreated, dragging their wounded with them. The crowd did not follow. Some eyes looked at Daniel with fear, others with wonder. A few whispered Lyra's name for the first time, not as filth, but as someone. When the guards vanished into the alleys, Daniel turned back to her. His chest rose heavy with breath, his coat burned, blood on his arm, yet his eyes were steady. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, her voice breaking. "No, but you risked everything." Daniel knelt, resting a hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes you have to risk everything, or you risk becoming nothing." Her breath caught. Her tears fell. But inside her chest, the fragile spark grew brighter. For the first time since the war, she felt not only alive, but worth saving. The city had tried to crush her, but tonight, a human had stood against its cruelty, and now the city itself seemed to tremble. Because mercy had become rebellion, and rebellion had begun to spread, the courtyard lay silent after the fight. The smell of sparks still burned in the air. The crowd slowly faded, muttering to themselves. Some looked afraid, others carried whispers of wonder, but none could forget what they had seen. One human standing against the city's cruelty. Daniel stood steady, his coat torn, blood trailing from his arm. Lyra stayed close, her thin frame trembling. She could not believe he was still alive, still standing. The guards had been broken, their leader humiliated, yet she knew this city would not stop. It never forgave, it never forgot. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice raw. "They will come back, more of them, stronger. They will not let this rest." Daniel looked at her, his eyes steady as stone. "Then we do not hide. We walk." Her lips parted. "Walk? To where?" "Anywhere," he said, "as long as it is away from chains." The words hit her like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. For years she had believed chains were all she had left. Even when her wrists were free, hunger and shame had bound her tighter than iron. But here stood someone who refused to see her as broken. They left the courtyard, moving through the cracked alleys. The city seemed quieter now, but watchful, like a beast that had been wounded and waited for revenge. Lyra walked slower, her body weak, but every step beside Daniel felt heavier with meaning. She whispered, "You do not know what you have done. You stood against them. You shared food with me. You gave me my name again. They will not only hunt me now, they will hunt you." Daniel's mouth curved into a faint smile. "Let them try." The words carried no arrogance, only a calm certainty. His presence was like a wall against the storm. She found herself leaning on that strength without shame. At the edge of the city, they reached an abandoned gate, rusted metal and broken stone. Beyond it stretched the dark plains, silent and endless under alien stars. Lyra froze, fear biting her chest. If we go beyond, there is nothing, no food, no shelter. Daniel placed a hand on the cold metal. Nothing is still better than cruelty. She looked at him, her throat tight. Why me? Of all the beings here, why stop for me? He met her gaze, calm, unshaken. Because you were hungry, because you were alive, and because kindness means nothing if it stops at the borders of blood or skin. Her tears fell again, but this time they did not taste of shame. They tasted of hope, fragile but real. For the first time, Lyra stepped through the gate, Daniel beside her. The city lights burned behind them, sharp and cold, but ahead stretched freedom, uncertain yet vast. The city whispered of them. The story of the human who fed a starving alien woman spread faster than fire. Some cursed him, some feared him, but others remembered the way he had stood, the way he had said she deserved to live. And among the poor, the beggars, the forgotten, a spark caught. They whispered her name. Lyra, not as filth, but as a survivor. Some began to wonder if mercy was not weakness, but strength. Far beyond the city, under the stars, Lyra stopped. Her legs trembled. Daniel steadied her. She looked up at him, her voice soft. "I thought my story ended years ago." Daniel shook his head. "No, Lyra, it is only beginning." The words wrapped around her like warmth. For so long, she had been only hunger, only silence, only shame. But now, for the first time, she felt like more than a shadow. She was alive, seen, valued. The wind howled across the plains, but it carried freedom, not chains. The human and the alien woman walked into the night, two figures against a vast world. And though the city behind them plotted revenge, though danger would surely follow, the future no longer looked empty. Because hope had returned, and hope, once lit, could never be chained again. And all of it had begun with one simple act. A human sharing a warm meal,